The movie is set in Hungary during World War II. There's a young Jewish boy called Georgi, whose father has been called up by the Nazis for forced labor. Needless to say, this makes the family spend some bittersweet final days with the father. At night, the entire family gathers at the table for one last meal. Some neighbors also approach to say goodbye. Georgi gives one last hug to his father and the boy cries. However, the boy is glad that the family has provided a good final day for the father. The next day, Georgi meets with his friend to play some cards. Unfortunately, the girl is stressed out because of the Jewish need of wearing a yellow star. She says that she doesn't like being different from the rest of the people because of religion. Georgi replies that she's not the one who can make that decision. The girl keeps crying, so Georgi decides to leave. The following day, he takes a bus, but a police officer orders every Jewish to get off. Georgi says he has a pass for war labor, but the officer insists him on getting off the bus. When the bus is gone, the officer orders everyone to come out. From behind the bushes, a group of boys emerges. When the following bus approaches, the police officer orders the boys to hide again, as if they were playing a kind of game. The policeman smiles back when seeing the children running and hiding. Later, the man leads the children to a shack. One of them asks the officer when is he letting them go, but the police officer doesn't know. Later, the foreman appears and demands the officer to let the children go, because they work for him. However, the officer cannot do that, he's just following his superior's orders. Hours pass by, and the policeman has gathered adults in the shack too. One of them is on the verge of panicking because he had permission to visit his sick mother, and if he doesn't show up, he will be late. Not long after that, the officer receives orders to make a simple ID check. He lines them up and leads the group back to the city. There, other officers are guiding more Jewish as well. But where are they leading them to? The line of people stops to let the trolley car pass. At that moment, some quick-minded people seize the chance and escape on the vehicle. Georgi watches them get away, but he's so confused that he misses the opportunity. Then, another officer tells the group there will be an investigation into their affairs, to make sure that no one has ill-gotten gains and black market goods. The officer then makes the Jewish people spend the night at the stable. Early in the morning, Georgi hands everything he was keeping in his pockets to a police officer. Nonetheless, when he shows the policeman his passport, the man doesn't even look at it. Finally, Georgi and the rest are herded into freight cars to somewhere else. They have to bear thirst and cold all the way. Eventually, the train stops at the Hungarian border. There, a policeman advises everyone to give their very last belongings to him instead of the Germans. The people say they'll give everything they have in exchange for water. Unfortunately, the bargain ends in both sides losing. The police officer gets so mad that he wishes everyone to die of thirst. The train continues rolling and makes it to another station. Georgi gazes through the window and reads a sign saying Auschwitz. One of the passengers says that they're in Poland, but the Germans have changed names everywhere. The train finally stops and the Jewish passengers get off it. Some Nazi soldiers are waiting for them. They separate men from women in two lines. A Jewish prisoner tells the kids to say they're 16 years old. This is to ensure the kids will be sent to labor, instead of the deadly gas chambers. Sadly, one of the kids looks excessively young, and the Nazi general realizes he's lying, so he sends him to a different line. Now it's Georgi's turn. Georgi is 14 years old, almost 15. Of course, the young boy says he's 16 as well. The Nazi general grabs Georgi's face and takes a closer look at him. Fortunately for him, the general believes Georgi's lie. He's eventually taken to another concentration camp, Buchenwald. When he makes it there, Georgi is given a number, which he needs to memorize in German and repeat every time they ask for his name. While the prisoners are waiting for the organization, one Nazi general looks for prisoners who can sing. So, some of them play and sing music for everyone. Not a few prisoners move and enjoy the moment. In the end, Georgi is sent to a third camp, Zeitz. This camp is smaller than the others, lacking gas chambers and crematoriums. While Georgi is in line with the rest of the prisoners, one man asks him where is he from. Georgi says he's from Budapest. The man smiles, saying that he used to walk Nefelek Street. He says that one day, he'll walk those streets again. The man presents himself as Bandy. He says he spent 4 years in forced labor in Ukraine and that he wasn't aware of Hungary's situation. All of a sudden, an officer discovers Georgi talking, so he approaches the boy and hits him as hard as he can. Georgi falls to the ground and his nose begins to bleed. Bandy keeps talking but the rest of the prisoners tell him off. They don't want to be beaten up because of a silly conversation. The next morning, one prisoner is serving soup to the rest. He gets mad at a man because he doesn't hold his plate high enough, so he serves the soup in a very aggressive way, and the soup splatters all over the man's face. Eventually, the prisoners are ordered to unload rocks into 4 piles. They work their fingers to the bone, and Georgi hurts his hands badly. He cannot continue with the job. A German soldier orders the boy to keep up with the task. Georgi shows his bleeding hands, but the soldier doesn't care. The boy has no other choice but to continue. With the help of Bandy, Georgie learns the basic rules quickly: to get a good wash anywhere to avoid scabs, to always carry a mouthful of bread in his pockets from the previous ration, and to do his best to keep his self-esteem. This last thing is relevant to maintain hope and returning home alive. Despite the unworthy conditions of the camp, Georgie and Bandy find moments to enjoy life. One night, the prisoners are taking soup. One old man finds a piece of meat on his plate, a lovely rarity. Everyone looks at the precious chunk of tasty meat. The old man leaves the chunk on one of the kids' plates and everyone continues with their dinner. That same night, the old man reflects on everyone's life goals. He says that having an aim or goal, even if it's something completely silly, it's enough to have someone with a will to live and face adversity. Days, weeks, and months pass by. Georgie stares at a Nazi soldier enjoying his meal. Georgie is starving and seems to be mesmerized by the noodles. One night, Georgie receives a big portion of bread to share with his partners. However, the hunger is so sharp that he cannot control himself and takes small pieces of it before dividing it with the others. Bandy notices that a small part of the bread has been eaten, so he slaps Georgie in the face. Another day, Georgie offers his ration of soup to an inmate in exchange for potatoes. Georgie says he'll give half of his ration, but the man wants it all. In the end, Georgie caves in and devours the potatoes quickly. Later that night, the man appears and takes the soup away from Georgie. Bandy tries to stop him, but he soon discovers it was part of a deal. Here we find Georgie carrying heavy bags to a truck. He's in complete pain and falls to the ground. The Nazi soldier gets mad at him for throwing the goods and orders him to continue. He makes Georgie stand up and helps him grab the bags properly. Eventually, the soldier stops. He sees Georgie shaking and crying, but willing to keep up with his task. The soldier seems to be surprised by it, but we never truly grasp what the soldier did after that, nor how he felt with that sighting. Do you think the soldier pities him? Things keep getting worse. The Germans make the prisoners watch their partners' deaths at the gallows pole. Georgie's will to live is slowly shattering. One day, Georgie neglects his hygiene. Bandy aggressively tries to take Georgie's clothes out to clean him. He's just trying to prevent Georgie from getting scabs and lice. Georgie cries because he can't stand the cold, so Bandy takes his coat out and gives it to Georgie. At night, Georgie falls into the mud. He cannot move at all. The stronger prisoners grab him and carry him to a relatively more comfortable place. Georgie is taken to the nursery. He is asked to take a blanket away, but Georgie won't do it. He's so cold that he wants to keep the little warmth he has with him. The doctor says that he will be given the blanket back once the revision is over. The doctor then says that he'll have to open the boy's leg up to cure it. While Georgie remains in the nursery's bed, another young patient arrives. Now, Georgie must share beds with him as well. The next morning, Georgie is given some coffee for breakfast. He also receives the ration for his partner, who hasn't awakened yet. However, Georgie soon finds out that the boy won't be waking up ever. He decides to keep it a secret and keep receiving double rations of food. This lasts only 2 days until someone finds out about the child's death. However, this man serves Georgie a double ration of food in secret. One morning, Georgie wakes up and notices his knee wound is full of maggots. Then we find the boy among a group of prisoners, scattered all over the ground. Georgie is placed on a cart and taken somewhere. Will this be Georgie's final day? Georgie has his clothes taken out and he's placed under a shower. Georgie stares at it waiting for the end. Surprisingly, no gas came out, just clean water. After the shower, Georgie is taken to a more comfortable bed. There, he has enough blankets to keep himself warm. There's even a fire in the room. One man approaches him and asks for the boy's name. Georgie gives his number, but the man wants to know his real name. The man then writes it down on a piece of paper and leaves. Finally, one day, the Americans attack the camp and rescue the Jewish prisoners. One of these soldiers offers a cigarette to Georgie, but he respectfully declines the offer. The soldier tells Georgie that he can't go back to Hungary since he won't be welcomed. He suggests he goes to the USA or somewhere else to study and start a better life. Georgie says that he needs to meet his father anyway and continue at school. Georgie returns to his country. He's received at the station by many women, everyone asking if he knows their husbands and relatives. Georgie heads to a set of apartments. He knocks on a door and a young woman opens it. Georgie says he's looking for his friend Bandy. The woman says he's not at home. Georgie asks whether he's not at the moment, or if she's meaning a different thing. The woman says that Bandy is not at all at home. Then an older woman appears and tells Georgie to come back in a few days, but we can clearly see some hopelessness in her eyes. When Georgie returns home, he finds an unknown woman living there. Georgie says that he's the one who lives there, but the woman says that the flat is hers. Then she closes and locks the door. So, Georgie knocks on his neighbor's door. They receive him with open arms. There, they tell him that the father passed away. Georgie slowly but steadily walks through his neighborhood streets. He concludes that he will continue his uncontinuable life, becoming a doctor or engineer, just like his mother wanted him to be. He finally says that there's nothing too unimaginable to endure. Oddly enough, he concludes that despite everything, there was a strange kind of happiness in the camps. Something that he doesn't want to forget. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this.